So let's talk about something fascinating. What happens when reason, our best tool for figuring things out, just stops working? We're going to explore that weird, blurry line where logic and understanding seem to hit a brick wall. Yeah, that's the big question for today. What do you do when you have to make a decision, but logic gives you absolutely nothing to go on? It sounds a little abstract, I know, but trust me, it's a puzzle that has kept some of the smartest people in history up at night. Okay, to get our heads around this, let's start with a really famous puzzle. Picture a hungry donkey, and this donkey is standing in the exact middle point between two bales of hay. Now, these aren't just any hay bales, they are perfectly identical. Same size, same tastiness, same distance away. So, what does the donkey do?
And what you're looking at is the heart of a famous paradox called Burden's ass. The whole problem is that perfect symmetry. You see, any reason you could possibly think of for picking the hay on the left is exactly the same for the hay on the right. Reason is totally, completely paralyzed.
And here's the kicker, right? The donkey can't just stand there and think about it forever. It's hungry. It has to eat or it starves. But its rational mind is completely stuck. And this forces us to see something really important. A choice has to be made even when there's no logical reason to make it.
Now, you might think this is just a weird little brain teaser, but this idea, it's been bugging people for a long time. We're talking more than 2,000 years.
It all starts way back with the ancient Greeks, but not with donkeys, with the Earth itself. A philosopher named Anaximander wondered why the Earth doesn't fall. His answer? Because it's perfectly balanced in the middle of everything. Then Aristotle took that idea and made it psychological, picturing a man frozen between being equally hungry and equally thirsty. But the real game changer was Al-Ghazali, who made it about pure logic, a man choosing between two identical dates. And then, hundreds of years later, Jean Buridan links it to the donkey, and boom, the paradox becomes famous forever.
And that quote from Al-Ghazali, it's absolutely crucial. He says, look, in the real world, the guy's going to pick a date. He's not going to starve. So there must be something inside of us, you might call it will, that has this incredible power to just make a distinction, to pick one, even when logic gives us a big fat zero.
So when you follow the breadcrumbs through history, you see what's really going on. This whole thing stops being a puzzle about physics or donkeys and becomes this incredibly deep question about free will itself. Can we actually make a choice that isn't dictated by pure reason?
Okay, so that's one limit of reason, the limit of choice. But that puzzle opens up an even stranger one, the limit of what we can know about what we don't know.
I mean, this is probably the most obvious thing anyone could ever say, right? Of course there are things we don't know. We all get that. Our knowledge is full of gaps.
Okay, but let me ask you a question, and think about this for a second. Can you name just one specific fact, not a topic like chemistry, but a single concrete fact that you know for certain that you do not know right now? It's a trap, right? Did you spot it? The very second you could say, I don't know the exact population of Tokyo in 1952, well, in that instant, you've just defined the fact. You now know what you don't know, which means it isn't a true unknown anymore. The act of pointing to a specific piece of ignorance destroys it. It's a total paradox.
And this weird little mental pretzel leads us to a really powerful idea called learned ignorance. It's basically the wisdom of realizing that while you can know that you're ignorant in a general sense, you can never ever draw a detailed map of all the specific things you don't know. It's like knowing there's a dark room, but you can't describe the shape of the furniture inside it.
All right, so we've hit the limit of choice, and we've hit the limit of knowledge. Now we're going to zoom out one last time to the biggest limit of all, the limit of understanding itself. And it all boils down to this one really fundamental rule. A less powerful mind simply cannot fully get how a more powerful mind works. It might see the results, sure, but the actual process, the how, that's completely out of reach. And this analogy just makes it crystal clear. Think about someone who can just barely play tic-tac-toe. They get the rules, they know you need 3 in a row. Now, could that person ever truly understand the mind of a chess grandmaster? No way. The grandmaster is seeing this whole universe of patterns, thinking dozens of moves ahead. They're playing a different game entirely. It's not just a knowledge gap. Their whole way of thinking is on another level. And that's where this whole idea really hits home. If the tic-tac-toe player can't get the chess master, how could any of us, with our limited, finite brains, ever hope to fully grasp an intelligence that's infinitely more complex than our own? We could see what it does, but understanding how it thinks, that would be fundamentally impossible. Okay, we have gone on quite a journey, right? from a donkey stuck between two hay bales all the way to the edge of human comprehension. So, what's the point of all this? Why do these limits actually matter?
Let's do a quick recap of the three major frontiers we've looked at. First, the limit of choice. Reasons sometimes just can't pick a side. Second, the limit of knowledge. We can't know the specifics of what we don't know. And third, the limit of understanding. A smaller mind just can't wrap itself around a bigger one.
And this right here is the most important part. Seeing these limits running up against these walls, it's not a failure. Not at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's the starting point for everything that matters. Realizing reason has its limits is what sparks curiosity. Admitting we don't know something is what makes us want to learn. These boundaries aren't dead ends. They're the horizons we're always striving to reach.
So, I'm going to leave you with a final question to chew on. If the edge of reason is where real discovery begins, then maybe the best questions we can ask are the ones that seem impossible to answer. Thanks for thinking about all this with me.